It was a typical grocery store trip, about 3 in the afternoon in the chilling 75 degrees of an Arizona winter. The cashier whose aisle I'd wandered into, though, they were anything but typical.
Whoops! You don't want 12 of these. I entered it wrong.
Now, in the back of my mind, I clocked that. My cashier had made a seemingly simple mistake, one that someone more familiar with the system might not make. They were either a newbie or a creepy cat burglar who'd slunk behind the partition in disguise. But given that Kroger isn't known to have a vault full of cash in their back room, it was probably the former. I decided to play it cool.
I may as well take 12. Feels like green onions always wilt so fast. Oh, they wilt so fast. I used to work in the produce section and... I knew you were new! J'accuse!
Most of us have heard of the Great Resignation headlines over the last year, but let's look at a definition really quick just to make sure we're all on the same page. According to Wikipedia, the Great Resignation is an economic trend in which employees voluntarily resign from their jobs en masse, beginning in early 2021, primarily in the United States. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm reading off my computer here. Employees are very quickly sort of moving up the corporate ladder, moving into new jobs, often motivated by the rapid increase in pay or by important conditions such as remote work. Overall, this is great. I'm so supportive of employees being able to have a proper work-life balance, and I must admit, as somebody with an uncommon neurotype and 2 chronic illnesses, I'm in very selfish support of this. I'm healthier than I've been in ages because I work from home right now, so I can regulate my diet, my insulin, my executive function needs, how and when I want to. You can find a ton of articles online about the benefits of working from home. I'll link to a couple of them that I found really useful or interesting, but I'm actually here today to shift the focus just a little bit and talk about one of the downsides of everybody moving up the corporate ladder very quickly. So because everybody's getting promoted right now and everybody's moving into better paying or higher positions, it's left the people at the bottom rung of the corporate ladder with little to no support. If you've noticed how much longer the lines at Starbucks or McDonald's is, it's that. We have a labor shortage. Ultimately, this puts a lot of power in the hands of the workers, which is really cool. But until then, until we backfill all of that, we have a little bit of a problem. So how do we deal as corporations and as consumers with the fact that everybody is new at their jobs?
For my fellow Wicca, act like it's retrograde. For my fellow comic book nerds, have a contingency plan.
What does this actually mean? To keep it simple, it means preparing to double check people's work. It means saving documentation of any work that you receive. Mercury retrograde is known as a time for miscommunication, so in these phases, it's really good to double check that everybody's on the same page, confirm your options with people, just make sure that your communication is actually coming across the way you think it is. Contingency plans mean that you have a kryptonite suit so that you can prevent Superman from ending the world. It means that you have backup strategies in the form of Plan B, Plan C, even Plan D, and a list of backup strategies are going to serve you well right now. So to take it into the instructional design world, how do we deal with this at a corporate level? At my last position, we had a new hire program that, let's just say it needed updating and leave it at that. If a new hire was learning and relying on just that material that was in our facilitator guide or our participant guide, they wouldn't have been able to complete a customer service call. There was just too many things in there that were outdated or inaccurate because we work in a tech world, so things, update very, very fast. However, this program saw dozens of new employees go through it every year, and they would still receive customer satisfaction scores that constantly scored 90% or higher. How? The facilitators of this program had been in that position for years. They knew the ins and outs of all of our point of sale systems, of all of our back ends. They didn't know the answer to something, they knew the person that did, they could go pull in an expert. What happens when all those people leave? Suddenly, the network of experts that the training program relied on for tribal knowledge would vaporize. instructional designers, you hear the term tribal knowledge and you immediately our skin just crawls because this is what happens when you are only passing knowledge on from experts, and it's oral or by example or on the job training, something like that. That's all great, but the moment that those people are gone, so is all of our knowledge. That is why instructional designers exist. We're supposed to document all of that. Problem with having very qualified facilitators that put out new hires receiving 90% or higher on their customer satisfaction scores is corporate sees that 90% score, doesn't want to give the instructional design team, the time to update it. So that's a little kind of brief recap of just what was going on here. So at the time that I left that company about a year and a half, 2 years ago, all of those experts were in place. They were helping our new hires. Everything was running smoothly. I wonder, in this great resignation, how many of those facilitators are still here. Because if all of those experts moved on to better positions or other companies, that knowledge is lost. I can only assume that that company has raised the salaries of the people facilitating the program to incentivize them to stay. Either that, or they are scrambling right now to avoid the pickle that they found themselves in. Meanwhile, they're most likely still hiring new employees. Which means that where a supervisor may once have spent years at the company, they've now maybe only spent a month or so. So, extending that line of logic out, that means that if an employee is faced with a tricky situation and needs to escalate to their supervisor, the supervisor is less likely to have encountered that situation, and the expert is less likely to still be in their position. So, overall, that entire chain of command is just less knowledgeable about what to do in difficult situations. So, what do? As IDs, the need for on-demand training has never been more urgent. Employees need to be able to find answers to their questions quickly, or in an ideal world, not have to go searching for them at all. What if a bot was installed in the employee's point of sale system? It could pop up with a decision tree as soon as the employee begins a specific procedure and guide them to the correct resolution. Perhaps they could click a cancellation button and have an offboarding form populate in their dashboard. That would be much easier than having the employee take time to search through a, let's face it, likely outdated, knowledge base and locate the form themselves and try to read through all of the instructions for it, while also trying to select the correct options in their point of sale system, while also keeping the customer talking so that they don't feel like they're waiting forever. This is also why, for anyone who's had to make any calls into a helpline recently, your hold times have been wild. Most places, I think, right now are like over a 20-minute wait time. I only know that anecdotally. I have a small business and, like I said, several chronic illnesses, so I've had to make a lot of calls to insurance, doctor's offices, tax people, accountants, there's a word for them, and just every helpline right now is backed up. So as instructional designers, we need to think first and foremost about the user experience and figure out what tools we can build that gets them information quickly and having to use as few brain cells as possible because they are already trying to do so much else. This is where my retrograde strategy comes in. I'm basically trying to eliminate as many opportunities for miscommunication as possible. So as mentors, and very quickly, mentors here can mean managers, project managers, product owners, anything like that. As mentors, what can we do? Estimate extra time for your projects, please. If I know I'm going to be double checking somebody else's work because they're newer, I make sure to build in extra time because I may find that we need corrections, and whatever corrections I do find, I want to go through them with that person. I don't want to just shoot them a document that says, hey, fix everything in 24 hours. We need to talk about why these things are more strategic. So, assuming I don't have a hard deadline, I'm estimating about a week and a half for a project that might normally take me a week. I also get pulled into different meetings or summoned for advice fairly regularly because I am more experienced with technology on my team. So again, I'm trying to think about where can I be more efficient, where can I make sure that my communication is well done and documented, what backup plans can I make for if somebody, if I hop into a meeting and show someone how to do a process, are they going to remember that? What backup plans can I make so that they don't have to remember that? So, in that light, every time I have to hop into a meeting to show somebody something new, I've just taken to recording our meetings. Some of this is, of course, beholden to your company policy. You want to make sure that you're allowed to do that. but it's worked out really, really well for me because I can just hop in, show somebody one little trick, and then almost inevitably a couple weeks later when somebody else is having that problem, I can shoot out that video instead of having to make time to, go in and do it myself. Sometimes I do have to hop in and like give people one-on-one coaching, but even then, if I give them the video first, they at least have a platform that they're working on. So instead of a panicked, how do I do steps 1 through 13? You can say, okay, well, I've given you, the first 5 steps. Do you understand those? Okay, cool. Now steps 6 through 13 are going to be a little more minute. Let's walk through them together. Or you've reviewed everything and you're just maybe stuck on 1 or 2 pieces. So overall, it makes for shorter meetings, even if I have to go into a meeting with somebody. This is where the contingency plan strategy comes in. I'm trying to anticipate future needs and plan for them in the present. A little bit of retrograde strategy there, where I'm trying to make sure that, my things are backed up and, my communication is documented. But mostly this is about planning ahead and planning for non-optimal performance, I think is the best way to put it, right? Because you don't want to call your newbies, unskilled. They're new. They're new at this. It's not their fault. But you do want to plan for that. Overall, this is an exciting time for everyone in the workforce, and I'm really excited to see how our market and our relationship to labor changes in the coming years. But it does mean that we need to fortify ourselves and our training, and just be a little smart about how we deal with things in the coming couple of months. I know if you are an instructional designer, you've been saying that you need to make time to do updates and make sure that you eliminate tribal knowledge. Now your company is getting a great first seat example of why we need to have done that. Now, I'm assuming if your instructional design experience has been anything like mine, this is a time to say, I told you so, in a nice way. This has been a time certainly on my end to build up examples of why this could have been easier if we had fortified against tribal knowledge, months ago or a year ago. I can't really, again, I think much like my last video, I'll update you if I get measurable results for what I'm trying to do there. It's, no one likes to say I told you so, no one likes hearing I told you so, so it's a really delicate conversation. And conversations are qualitative, so it's a little bit difficult to really, know how effective you're being in the moment. So comment below if you've had similar experiences to mine, if you have questions about, any of the things I'm suggesting here, or if you've had success yourself in telling people you told them so. All right, see you next time. This has been Zoe with Learning Pro Solutions.